Welcome to our channel Bytron Health and Technology. In this video, we will learn about brain-computer interfaces. Brain-computer interface is a system which allows us to control any device using only our mind. Let's understand this through an example. If you want to switch on the lamp, your brain will simply coordinate your hand and you will switch it on. But if a person is unable to do the same function physically, what's the solution? The solution to this problem is brain-computer interfaces. Brain-computer interface bypass that middle step of coordinating and using your muscles to execute the desired action, instead using a computer to identify the intended action and then controlling the device directly. Brain-computer interfaces, B.C.Is, have strong potential to enhance the life of patients with neurodegenerative disorders, improving the brain function of Alzheimer, Parkinson, and addicted patients, early diagnosis of epilepsy, and enabling communication and mobility in paralyzed people. Brain-computer interfaces can be non-invasive or invasive. In non-invasive B.C.Is, activity of neurons produce enough electrical activity to be detected outside of the head. This electrical activity can be measured by placing special sensors called electrodes onto the head. A large number of electrodes are placed on a headset to record the electrical activity coming from different regions of the brain. This method of measuring the brain's electrical activity externally is called EEG. But the invasive B.C.Is involve surgically implanting sensors directly onto the surface of the brain. These systems also measure the electrical activity of neurons, but because the electrical activity doesn't have to travel through bone, skin, and hair to get to the sensor, the recorded activity is much stronger. Invasive B.C.Is provide stronger signals and are more accurate than those that record signals from outside of the scalp. Does this mean that a brain-computer interface can read our thoughts? The answer is no. A B.C.I cannot read thoughts. Even with implantable, invasive B.C.I systems, this technology is still very far from being able to read anyone's thoughts. Instead, what B.C.Is look for are patterns that occur in brain activity in response to certain external events or that are generated during certain cognitive processes. But with the advancement of technology, this might be possible in near future. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and
Neuralink, Elon Musk's brain chip company, recently pushed back on claims that it violated animal welfare laws a few years ago while testing on monkeys. This year, the company plans to test on human subjects. But when it does, what would this major step mean for brain implant science?
Academics like me have conducted clinical trials in people with brain implants.
Dr. Paul Niajukian is a professor of bioengineering and neurosurgery. He directs the brain interfacing laboratory at Stanford.
For about 20 years now, academic research brain implants, up until this point, more or less, have almost exclusively been with wires. The difference that the N1 has, the Neuralink, it's fully implantable, it is battery powered, it is wireless. All of this is being done over Bluetooth protocol.
Let's dive into the science behind Neuralink to understand how exactly human brain chips work.
The science behind how these implants work is not that different from how you would go about trying to measure the energy from a AA battery. It's the same principle that we're doing with these brain implants. This is called neuroelectrophysiological recording. When you move your arm to the right, certain sets of neurons are activated in a certain pattern. Listening in to that activity and that pattern, you can predict very quickly which direction the arm is going to move. These are the neurons that are directly wired to your muscle.
Unless that pathway from the brain to the spinal cord to the muscle is damaged, the way it is in patients with paralysis.
That pathway is damaged, then the neural signals, the signals from the brain, aren't going to get down to move the muscles. But in many cases, the signals are still present in the brain, they're just not getting out. So if you reach in and put something that listens in to those neurons, and you know what's happening to the muscle.
And that's the goal of a brain implant. Now let's look at a timeline of brain interface breakthroughs over the years. Scholars have long been interested in how the brain works, so it's important to view these new developments at Neuralink as a culmination of breakthroughs by brain-machine interface researchers, especially in the last few decades. For example, in 2002, the first demonstration of real-time cursor control in monkeys took place. 2008, a monkey controlling a robotic arm in 3 dimensions fed itself. 2012, the first brain-controlled robotic arm by a human. 2017, a human controlled a cursor mentally to type out words and sentences. Dr. Miyajoukian was part of this study, as well as the one in 2018, where a human subject mentally controlled a tablet to do things like browse the web, send emails, and play games or music.
All that's been done with a couple hundred electrodes.
But in 2019, Neuralink, a private company, changed the game when it unveiled a pig named Gertrude with a wireless implant that monitored about 1,000 neurons.
The neurons are like wiring, and you kind of need an electronic thing to solve an electronic problem.
That was a very interesting moment because it signaled to the community that they're serious, they're investing, they're building hardware from scratch, and they're putting it in large animals. For the pig, the electrodes were implanted in somatosensory cortex, allowing them to measure sensory activity, like that of taking a step. Every time that particular neuron they were listening to fired, you would hear this little pop or click from the audio channel. And so the moment I heard it, right, it's like, oh yeah, they got neurons. You just recognize it instantly. You know what neurons sound like if you've been listening to them for decades. And that's what they were communicating, right? They were telling the field, we've got neurons, pay attention.
And overnight, it seemed the industry took notice. Then, in April of 2021, Neuralink released the so-called Mind Pong video.
Pager was the name. It's a rhesus macaque, which is, the type of monkey that is very commonly used in this field. Implanted with 2 of the N1 devices, the Neuralink devices, performing brain control of a cursor on a screen. That's extremely significant because here, Neuralink is showing their new hardware, their new device in their hands, works in a monkey. That's the level that's necessary to convince the scientific community, to convince the FDA that you're ready to go into human clinical trials. That's the evidence the FDA is looking for.
The recording power of the N1 device in Pager was eye-opening because of the sheer number of individual electrodes that had been implanted.
There was definitely a lot of clever engineering that went into that to build a device that can transmit 2048 electrodes worth of spiking information, right, of digital ones and zeros of spikes over a radio wirelessly. And when you have that many channels, the performance that you should be able to get should eclipse what we've been able to do in the academic field. The maximum number of electrodes I've ever recorded from is 200 to 300.
So with all those electrodes, how does a device like the N1 get implanted in a subject's brain?
Make no mistake, this is neurosurgery. It is not a joke. This requires cutting the skin, getting down to skull, drilling a hole in the skull, exposing what's called the dura, which is this protective layer of tissue that surrounds the brain, cutting the dura, folding it back to expose the brain, and then you get to the surface of the brain where you can implant the electrodes. The biggest risks with these types of techniques are infection, bleeding, and tissue damage.
So what would it take for the FDA to approve clinical trials in humans?
The Neuralink device are called Class 3 medical devices. They are implantable and they're going into very sensitive body cavities. That is the highest level of scrutiny that the FDA assigns to medical devices. They don't have a predecessor. There's no previous example that's approved. And so, very appropriately, they got a high bar they have to cross in order to get it approved. So what Neuralink has to do next is prepare a very long and technical document with all the evidence from animal studies that their device is safe and effective. This document is submitted to the FDA, who has 90 days to review and give them an answer. If the FDA says yes, then their clinical trial is approved and Neuralink can enroll and recruit human participants. We are on the cusp of a complete paradigm shift. This type of technology has the potential to transform our treatments, not just for stroke and paralysis and degenerative disease, motor degenerative diseases, but also for pretty much every other type of brain disease, from Parkinson's to epilepsy to dementias, Alzheimer's, and even psychiatric disease. Seeing Neuralink and the other companies in this space start an industry around neuroengineering, brain-machine interfaces, neuroprosthetics, has been a tremendous amount of validation for neuroscientists and engineers who've been working in this space for decades. How much happier could the scientific community be than to give birth to an industry?
So, will this industry someday lead to the creation of cyborg humans with superhuman intelligence?
There's all sorts of wild speculation in our field. I think science fiction is wonderful at telling very creative and captivating stories about all sorts of things, including brain-machine interfaces. The reality is we are in such early stages of this space, right, where we are just barely able to record from neurons that control muscles and try to interpret something, glean meaningful information out of that. We're going to be in that space for decades. That's where I will focus much of my career, is understanding what's going on with these neurons and the circuits that they are working on. That's where the last 15 years of my work has been, and the coming several decades of my work will focus in on this space, because that's going to be the forefront of neuroscience. The rest, I think, is fun to think about, but I don't see how that's going to be in the foreseeable future.
Alright, so shalom, shalom, shalom. This is your brother Kahan from the GMS Prophetic Vibration Campaign Trinidad, with another edification to the power and spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Okay, so first and foremost, call Halayam La Allah Hayanawa Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakah HaKodash Barakatah Yahweh Barakatah Yahushai Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai. Double honors unto the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Salutation unto the brothers who preaching and teaching the truth through all four corners of the earth, risking their lives and their freedom to do so no more than ever for the truth. Shalom unto the speckled Israelites, along with the very few but faithful Akwat. Alright, a few Akwat Salakia, alright, which is the sisters. And listening and learning, we say Shalom. Alright, so the title of the certification is the B.C.I. Alright, B.C.I. and the B system. Alright, the B.C.I. and the B system. The B.C.I. stands for Brain Computer Interface. Alright, Brain Computer Interface, and you know its part that it has to play within the B system. Alright, now as you can see there, the two clips that was played, you know, explaining what is B.C.I., you know, and that was the first one, and the second one, you know, was getting into Elon Musk and his B.C.I., which is the Neuralink, alright, the Neuralink technology, alright, which, you know, is the mark of the beast, the MOTB, that the scriptures, you know, that the scriptures edify us on, you know, and what have you, so forth, pursuant to Revelation chapter 13, you know, verse 16, alright, and also of the beast system itself, you know, pursuant to same Revelation 13, you know, from 1 going all the way down, from 1 going all the way down to verse 18, you know, but he'll still put more focus into the verses of verse 11 all the way down to verse 15, pursuant to the system of the beast, you know. Now, what you see in here, you know, is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, you know, him trying to play God. Alright, him trying to play the Most High God. Alright. The scriptures where it speaks of let me see if I could get that. I think that is in the Apocrypha, but I can't remember exactly where. Alright, let me see scripture concerning the Most High knows. Oh, the hell. Knows your thoughts, the truth. I must see it on the, I must see Isaiah 58. Not this one. Just now. N A P O C CRY PHA. Come on, man. There's one in your apocrypha. Bear with me. I have my hard copy next to me. Alright, so I found it. It's 2nd Ezra 16. Alright, 2nd Ezra 16. And verse 54. Actually, this is the one that I wanted. So 2nd Ezra 16 and 54. As a matter of fact, I will start from 53, but the point is actually 54. 2nd Ezra 16, 54, 53. So like here it reads, let not the sinner say that he hath not sinned, for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai shall burn coals of fire upon his head, which say before the Lord power and his glory, I have not sinned. Behold, the Lord knoweth all the works of men, their imaginations, their thoughts, and their hearts. And there's even a scripture where he says, he know your thoughts even before you even think it. Alright? The reason for the scripture, because this is the power. This is the level of power that Esau Edom so desires. Alright? Now, you see, the thing about it is, you who not in the know, and is all caught up within the system, and the wine, the philosophies of the system that they've been pushing out and whatnot. You will look at it on surface level as these B.C.Is, is actually for what they are telling you, what they, of the reasons why, these things is created, to eliminate brain disability and what have you, so forth, even bodily disability, which really and truly it starts with the brain, because every function of your body, it all starts with the brain, because the neurons is still the neurons, is it ones that is what send the signals to the brain, for you to commit whatever activity that you want to commit, whether it's to stand up, whether it's to sit, whether it's to run, to kick, to lift, whatever it may be. All right. So that is what they will tell you, what that is for. But really and truly, as in the both clips coming to the ending, in the first one, there was posing a question. Do you think it will be made to control thoughts and whatnot, so forth, and to read minds? And there was like, no, that's far from that and whatnot, so forth. That is a blatant lie. All right. In the one concerning the Neuralink, where it was mentioned, some people think that, it will give superhuman abilities and what have you, so forth, and this and that and the other. And, there was like, that sort of technology is aeons away, all right, which is a lie, all right, because that is the true. That is one of the reasons, of the false miracles of this, pursuant to what the scripture describes of, that a lot of people is going to take this thing, even if they do not have any disability and whatnot, so forth, but they taking it for a higher augmentation of within the body and whatnot, so forth. But for the elites, all right, the elites, the powers that be, all right, they want they want it because they believe of the artificial power that they will be having, because that is artificial power, that's not true power. Okay, the artificial power will be that they will be gaining, by having full control, of the recipients of these devices. All right, because they want to be able to control, and know. All right, control and know. All right, this is what it is all about here. All right, know your every thought, know your every action, and what have you, so forth, and have control over all your thoughts and all your actions. This is what it is. All right, and this is what this man is trying to achieve, via his beast system. All right, when you go to Revelation chapter 13, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. Revelation chapter 13. All right, and we could go to to 11, or start from 12, boy. A matter of fact, start from 12. Revelation 13 and 12, where it reads, and he exercised all the power, all right, that he is speaking about is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, all right, of the first beast, all right, before him, which was the Western Roman Empire, the pagan Roman Empire, all right, ancient pagan Roman Empire, and caused the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound, all right, was healed. That first beast was the Western Roman Empire, and the whole world is worshiping this beast, is going after this beast system, that was past and is present here now. All right, that is implemented, that is rebirth. All right, that is rebirth via the Renaissance period. All right, which is actually America, because America is Rome 2.0 all over again. All right, America is Rome reincarnated. Okay, and all the policies and whatnot, so forth, that ancient Rome was living by, standing by, carrying out, implementing, and whatnot, so forth, is the same standards that America is carrying out, and the world follow after. The world follow it after. All right, I'm jumping down to verse 14 to go down to the point. All right, and deceived them, Revelation 13:14, and deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. All right, and those miracles they're speaking about, those false miracles, is actually what we just witnessed there via those two clips. All right, RFID technology, brain computer interface technology, which is being connected to the internet. All right, the IoT, the Internet of Things. All right, which is going to transcend into the IOB, the Internet of Bodies, where your body is actually connected to the Internet of Things, and what have you, so forth. All right, you being what's the word, boy? Integrated. All right, you being integrated into these devices and what have you, so forth, and being a part of it, and it being a part of you, where things that you was not capable of doing outside of this whole Internet of Things and what have you, so forth. You are actually now being able to carry about, your cognitive intelligence, being heightened, and what have you, so forth. There is where it is. So it says, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, all right, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Okay, and these things is part of the image of the beast. You know, these things is going to play a heavy role within this beast system, this new beast system that is being implemented throughout the four corners of the earth, that is being fast tracked. All right. There's where it is. You see your boy Trump just the other day, you know, signing into law pursuant to the 6G, you know, and 6G technologies and what have you, so forth. All right, and talking about you know, talking about pretty soon we're going to see this going under. Is this going to be going under your skin pretty soon, and what have you, so forth? Because they know what they are doing, they know what they are bringing forth, they know what they are implementing. All right, it's just the ones who not any know. You dumb jakes, you can't see it. All right, you dumb stupid Negroes, man. 2/3 in you all, you know, you can't see it. You can't see it for what it is, you know. And the thing about it is, you know, it's not. This is not just. This is not a democratic thing or a republic thing, you know, left, right, you know, conservatives or whatever the case may be, you know, because they are all in it. They are all in it. Same thing here with our political scheme, with our political sphere, you know. Kamala was the one to implement the Electronical Monitoring Act back in 2010, all right, via Section 34, the implementation of Section 34 and what have you, so forth, all right. And then you have your boy Rowley back in 2015, you know, doing his best to bring about a cashless society, paperless society, electronic identification, and what have you, so forth, you know. There's where it is. All right, and Kamala is. We believe Kamala is going to be the one to actually bring about this whole system when it's being rolled out in its full force. You know, she will be the one to really sanction it here in Trinidad. All right, that's why when you go up to this in this very said chapter of Revelation 13 and verse 11, where it reads, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon," which goes into the two-party system. All right, which goes into the two-party system, which was both controlled, all right, by the powers that be, the elites that be at the time. You know, that two-party system back then was the plebeians and the patricians. All right, during the time of ancient Rome. All right. But again, America is Rome 2.0, you know, and that same system, that same Roman system, all right, which had that deadly wound but did heal, all right, rose up again via America, all right, with the Democrats and the Republicans, all right, which they will give you the illusion there that they are against each other and what have you, so forth, but truth and in fact, they are two sides of the same coin, under the same control, all right, bringing about the same agenda. There is what it is. There is what it is. Now you see, the thing about it is, a lot of people they're going to be fooled, you know, they're going to be misled. You understand? Because the way how it is being sold to them. All right, the way how it is being sold to them, and they don't know that this is actually, you know, the stages, you know, the beginning stages, or the steps that is being taken pursuant towards Esau, Edom, and their new world order. You understand? There is what it is. This is the steps that is being taken, all right, pursuant towards their new world order. Because again, it's all about control. Because remember, this man, you know, this man carries about a godlike persona about him. All right, he sees himself as the Most High God, or even better than the Most High God. All right, because to him, within his mind, pursuant to let me see if I can get that. It will be able to be more expounded better on Isaiah 32, and I think it's verse 6. Alright. Yeah, verse 6. I went straight to the point. Isaiah 32 and 6, where it reads, "For the vile person will speak villainy, alright, and his heart will work iniquity." Alright? And his heart will work iniquity, because the scripture says the wicked boast in their heart's desire. Alright, and what is their heart's desire? Their heart's desire is for full control over the masses, over the people. You understand? So as it says here, for the vile person will speak villainy and will and his heart, alright, will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy and to utter error against the Lord, against the Most High. And this is the thing here, alright? Because these inventions, what they are making, if you listen to like guys like Yuval Noah Harari or Hariri, whatever his blasted name is, alright, when you listen to guys as such, these guys as such, alright, they speak with a blasphemous tongue against the Most High, in a way that the Most High, he is not perfect, and his inventions, not his inventions, his creations, Salakia, alright, his creations, alright, and all that he created and what have you, so forth, is not perfect, especially man. Is not, it's not perfect, hence why we need to have these things, to bring about a race of hybrids, so to speak. You understand? Let's go to that word hybrid. Let's go to that word hybrid. HYB. Alright. Hybrid. Alright. The offspring of two plants or animals of different species or varieties, alright, such as a mule, a hybrid of a donkey and a horse, alright, and this is the thing here, alright, this man is fusing technology with man, alright, to create something, to create something that is outside of the creation of the Most High, which is basically an abomination. Alright? Because the Most High, he created everything and he saw that it was good and it was perfect. Alright? But what this man did, according to the scripture that we are reading here, again, alright, Isaiah 32 and 6, "For the vile person will speak villainy, and he will, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy and to utter error against the Lord." You understand? This is what it is, to utter error against the Most High, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. Now this is the thing here. This just goes to show you, the falseness of this thing here, the artificial healing, so to speak. Alright? Because this technology, what they are doing here to say they are healing the sick and whatnot, so forth, is that's artificial. Alright? Because at the ending of it all, if you look at the people that is actually in the trial being used as the guinea pigs, for the trials of these technology and whatnot, so forth, they are still in the condition. The most they could do is just use the most that is just taking place is that their cognizance has been altered a bit, in the fact that they could be able to control whatever device and what have you, so forth, because of this augmentation that had took place, because of this so-called enhancement that has took place, that has been implanted within them, but they still do not have the mobility. All right, they still do not have the full mobility, to actually get up and walk, to actually be able to see, to actually be able to do things physically, fully, to be fully functional, to be in a fully functional physical state. You understand? Because it's not of the Most High, it's artificial. It's what man made, and they have the audacity to still come up against the Most High, to utter error against the Most High, But this is the thing. This just goes to show, that as the scripture says, science falsely so-called. Let me see if I can get that. That's somewhere in Timothy, I believe. Science false. What the hell? Right, good. Science falsely so-called. Timothy 6:19. 1 Timothy 6:19. Let's take a look at that. All right, let's take a look at that. 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 19, where it reads, was it 6 and 19 also? $6.20. Yes, 6 and 20. Let me highlight that in a different color though. Alright, so 1 Timothy 6 and 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called. Alright, this is what it is. Alright? Science falsely so called. Because the word science it goes into truth, which means to know. Alright? And they don't have the true science. This is the whole thing. They don't have the true science. They don't have the true knowledge, the true understanding. Alright? It wasn't given to them. Okay? Everything that they have, they work it, whatever knowledge they have, they work it in wickedness. As the scripture says, the knowledge of wickedness is not knowledge. That's roughly paraphrasing. Or the wisdom of wickedness. Something. Let me get it. A butcher in it. There is not second just now by Sirach. What the hell are going to the prayer man? Sirach 19 and 20, I believe, or 22. Alright, 22. Sirach 19, 22. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. Alright? Neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. So this is the whole situation here with the powers that be here within this world. Alright? Because at the end of it all, their knowledge, pursuant to their science, their false science, alright, is still limited. Alright? It's still limited. And this is the thing, it is of the flesh. Alright? But the science of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is of the spirit. Alright? Is of the spirit. Okay? This is where it is here. Where Esau, wherever ailment and whatnot, so forth, the average human will be going through, Esau would never give a healing, he will never bring something to heal you. Let me just put it that way, for lack of better words. Alright? There's where it is here, the people that suffering from whatever ailment and what have you, so forth, Esau's science will never be will never be towards bringing healing. It will just be to treat or to mask. All right, no matter what it may be, whether cancer or whatever it may be, whatever sickness it may be. All right, but the Lord, the Lord provide a antidote for every sickness upon the face of the earth. That's why He created the herbs. And but what Esau did, Esau take away such science to bring about his nonsense, which is really just a treat so that they could continue to just reap rewards off of you, which is money. All right, take your money, while you just going down in sickness. You understand? Until they just ultimately just die. All right, there is where it is here. But the Lord, scriptures like Sirach, I think it's 36 or 37 or something like that. Let me see if I figure that. Sirach 36, I believe, and 1. Well, let me see 37. No, that's no. 38 actually. Alright, 38. Sirach 38 and 1. Honor a physician. Alright. Honor a physician with the honor due unto him for the uses which he may have, for the uses which you have of him, for the Lord hath had what? For the Lord hath created him, for of the Most High cometh healing, and he shall receive honor of the king. The skill of the physician shall lift up his head, and in the sight of great men he shall be in admiration. The Lord hath created medicines out of the earth. Alright? But Esau's medicine is petroleum-based business, chemicals and what have you, so forth. It's just to us pertain more sickness. Alright? The Lord hath created the medicines out of the earth, which is the herbs. Alright? And he that is wise will not abhor them. Alright? So this is the thing here. Alright? This is the thing here. But the point of the point where I'm getting at, is that this man, he desires to be like the Most High. But he will never, the Lord will never, the Lord will never grant him such power. That power that he so desires, that true raw power that he so desires, that will only be given unto the elect. Alright? That will only be given unto the elect. And Yahushai, alright, who is the first of the elect, alright? Yahushai, who is the elect of the elect, alright? He when he was on the face of the earth, he demonstrated such power. And that power is going to be transcended onto the elect in time to come. When we get that new bodies and whatnot, so forth, there is some brothers that is going to receive spiritual powers even before, a level of spiritual powers before, but what I'm saying, Yahushua, he was the one, to really prove and give such example of real spiritual power, real spiritual healing power. Alright, healing power that Esau, but not to heal, alright, not to heal, but at the same time, raw power. This is what this man so desire. You understand? But he will never reach on such level. But as I say, Yahushai, let's take a look at Mark 2. Yahushai, Mark 2 and 2, I believe. We're starting from verse 1. Yep. This is it here. Now watch this. This is Mark chapter 2 and 1. It reads, and again he entered into Capernaum after the... A matter of fact, let me read this in the blue letter. Alright, so Mark 2 and 1, and again he entered into the Capernaum after some days, and it was noise that he was in the house. All right, the word spread quickly, and straightway many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them, no, not so much as about the door. And he preached the word unto them, and they came unto him, bringing one sick of the palsy, all right, a man he was paralyzed, all right, which was born of four. He was carried by four men, all right. It reads, and when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, all right, for the press, they uncovered the roof where he was, and when they had broken it up, the roof, right, when they had broken it up, they let down the bed wherein the sick of the palsy lay. All right, so they brought in a crippled man on a bed. All right, when Yahushua saw their faith, he said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, thy sins be forgiven thee. But there were certain of the scribes sitting there and reasoning in their hearts, wicked men. Always have the doubters, the wicked men, the backbiters. Anyhow, why doth this man thus speak blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but Yahweh only? And immediately when Yahweh perceived in his spirit that they so reasoned within themselves, he said unto them, Why reason yet these things in your hearts? Whether is it easier to say to the sick of the palsy, Thy sins be forgiven, or to say, Arise and take up thy bed and walk? But that ye may know that the Son of Man doth have power on earth to forgive sins. He said to the sick of the palsy, I say to thee, Arise and take up thy bed, and go thy way into thine house. And immediately he arose, took up the bed, and went forth. All right? Immediately he took up the bed. Now look at this thing here. All right? Look at this thing here. This is Yahweh Shai showing ultimate power, ultimate spiritual power, healing power. Okay? But Esau, his power is artificial. All right? Because with Esau, you're taking this shit, you're putting it in your brain. All right? You're putting this shit in your brain, being powered by 6G technology and what have you, so forth. All right? Being powered by 6G technology, and yet still you cannot even get up. You cannot even get up and walk. All right? Because the people who've been taking this thing on trial runs and what have you, so forth, all they're just doing is just augmenting the brain. But it's still not how to put it, it's still not giving the body the function that you so desire to get back to walk and what have you, so forth. You understand? Immediately he arose, took up the bed, and went forth before them all, insomuch that they were all amazed and glorified Yahweh, saying, We never saw it on this fashion. You understand? But Esau, he does not have such power. All right? So as I say, you're taking this thing here to put within your system, to put within your brain, and what have you, so forth, to get some sort of alleviation to the problem. But this thing is going to get you even more sick than ever. It's going to do you way more worse than good, because when you go to Revelation, let's go back to here. When you go to Revelation chapter 16, and I will start at 1, Revelation 16 and 1. And I heard a great voice out of the temple. A matter of fact, let me go to the blue letter. Come on. Revelation chapter 16 and 1. It reads, And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways, and pour out the vials of the wrath of Yahweh upon the earth. And the first went out and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome. All right, let's go to that word noisome. Let's go to that word noisome.
Strong's G 2556. Carcass. Carcass.
All right, karkas is the word for the Greek. All right, for noisome. It says what? Of a bad nature, not such as it ought to be. Yeah, of a mode of thinking, feeling, acting, base, wrong, wicked, troublesome, injurious, pernicious, destructive, banful. All right, so a troublesome, injurious, destructive, banful. Yeah. Let's come out. All right. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome, all right, and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, or upon them which worship his image. All right, so when I go to that word grievous now, let's go to that word grievous. Come on. All right, not. All right.
Strong's G 4190. Paneras. Paneras.
All right. It says what? Full of labors, annoyances, hardship. All right, that grievous, right? Pressed and harassed by labors, bringing toils, annoyances, perils, of a time full of peril. All right. In ethical sense, evil, wicked, bad. All right. In physical sense, disease or blind. All right. And when I go to that word, when I go to that word, sore. All right. When I go to that word sore. All right.
Strong's G 1668. Helkas. Helkas.
All right. Good. Helkas. All right. That is the Greek word for sore. All right. A wound, especially a wound producing a discharge. Pus. Yeah. Pus is sore and ulcer. All right. That's now. Bear with me. All right. Now that goes into something else. All right. Right. A discharge. A pus is sore. Right. So basically, it's cancer. Let's go to that word ulcer. All right. Ulcer. All right. Particular disease involve painful sores in the stomach or upper small intestine lining, commonly caused by Pylori bacteria or long-term NSAID, example aspirin. Let me see. It says here symptoms include burning, stomach pain, nausea, bloating, and vomiting. Diagnosis involves endoscopy or test for bacteria, while treatment requires antibiotics and acid. Alright, so basically, really and truly, it's cancer. Alright, that you'll be getting when you take that that thing in your brain. Alright, because the radiation that this thing is going to be pushing from the 6G, all right, in order for this thing to be fully functional, all right, in order for this thing to be fully functional, all right, you're going to get cancer. And this is the thing here, all right. The saying this thing is for your beneficial to help you, to make you take part in society and everyday activities and whatnot, so forth. But really and truly, this thing is doing more damage than good. But this man could care less, because he will stop at nothing. All right? He will stop at nothing. He will stop at nothing in order to go about his heart's desire. All right, which goes into Thessalonians. Let's take a look at that. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. Where it reads, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and 3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Alright? Because this man has a God complex about him. So he could care less who he maims, who he kills, whatever it may be, who he destroys on his conquest into becoming a God, via the way of his technologies and what have you, so forth. There's where it is. It says, remember, ye not that when I was with you, I told you these things, and now ye know what were told it, that he might be revealed in this time, and he's been revealed as the wicked. Alright? For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, alright, which is the prophets, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, which is the chariots. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, alright, with all powers and signs and lying wonders. Alright? And this thing here, this brain-computer interface, is just nothing less than what? A lying wonder, false miracles. Alright? Another one of his false miracles. Alright? That's why when I go to Proverbs 21, Proverbs 21 and verse 27, it reads what? Proverbs 21 and 27, the sacrifice of the wicked is abomination. Alright? How much more when he bringeth it with a wicked mind? Alright? How much more when he bringeth forth with a wicked mind? Alright, this man will sacrifice his own people just to bring about his agenda. Alright, he could care less who he hurts, who he maims, who he destroy, who he kill. Well, murder, I would say. This man could care less. You understand? This is why it is here. And I will leave with this last scripture, alright, which is Psalms 37 and 9. Psalm 37 and 9. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, you understand, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked had drawn out the sword, and had bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Alright, which is the prophets. Alright, the men who is screaming out, pursuant to this man and his agenda, and their beast system that they are bringing about upon the face of the earth that they are implementing. Alright, their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bow shall be broken. A little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua upholdeth the righteous. The Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall not be. And the days of famine they shall be satisfied, Salakia. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua shall be as the fat of the lambs. They shall consume, alright, into smoke shall they consume away. This is what it is. This is what's going to come about with this man and his system and all that he's trying to implement. All right, is going to be destroyed in its entirety. All right, they are not going to get about their new world order the way that they so desire. All right, that's a promise. That's a promise. So hey, I hope you all are edified through the power and spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Here Brother Kahan from the GMS Prophetic Vibration Camp signing out, saying Kal Halayam La Alahayanawa Yahweh Hashem Yahushai Basham Rakah Kodash. Alright, double honors unto the apostles, the bishops, the elders, a great millstone at well. Salutation unto the brothers who preaching and teaching throughout the four corners of the earth, risking their lives, freedom to do so. Shalom unto the speckled Israelites, along with the very few but faithful Akwat. We say Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.